how hard was it to adjust to the real world after leaving a heavy Baptist surrounding?
I mean, it's almost impossible to answer that question. Everything was different.
No.
It's when
it presumes that you've already adjusted all the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Which is probably not true. I probably overcorrected in some ways. I'm probably finding ways to now like readjust to being more normal rather than like for instance, when I left and I started being okay with cussing, because I'd never cussed like my whole life. I said probably 2 cuss words from the time that I was 3 until the time that I was 22. It's fucking insane. But, and I'm not even saying it's good or bad or encouraging people to cuss if you don't, like, it's irrelevant to me. I'm not preaching one way or the other. But when I started like being more comfortable with like letting an F-bomb fly out or something, I had no idea how to cuss. Yeah. So I would just say them in random, like sometimes inappropriate use cases, sometimes just like saying it just didn't make any sense, or I was using a form of it that didn't make any sense. So if you use that and apply it across a bunch of different scenarios, like how to behave in social settings, how to drink but not drink too much, how to talk to members of the opposite gender without feeling like, because we were taught growing up, every date's a possible mate. So like, don't talk to anybody that's not the person. It's just like learning every aspect of that. There was probably a lot of like going overboard the other way, doing it incorrectly, and just feeling it out. But I think the answer for me was just, I did, especially with the podcast and everything, I did so much activity in such a short period of time that it was like drinking from a water hose learning. Right. And I think that was, almost necessary to like learn how to adjust and communicate effectively with people who had no idea the way that I grew up.
Right. What does spirituality look like for you now?
Is that an actual question?
No, I'm just adding to it. Because I'm saying that's part of adjusting that I think about all the time is like, because there's, there is so much of a, like, oh, there's purpose to this. There's meaning to this. There's, and sometimes that's like a struggle for me of like, how do you, like, there's moments you feel like, I feel like praying, but it's like, it's, my signal, is not great. Like, so like, what does that look, or does it look like anything for you now? Like, what is that? What's replaced that?
For me, it's more of a purposeful reconnection to the things that I know for sure exist, and the things that
like God, like the Lord, like Jesus,
like me and my family,
right,
and nature. I was watching through this series recently, The Last Kingdom. It's like a set in Viking time, and basically like the main character in the show, if you haven't seen it, is he's born as a Saxon, and then the Vikings, the Danes, basically kill everybody he knows, raid them, take him, and they raise him as a Dane. Mm. And so he's always, in the whole series, is caught between these two versions of religion. It's like the Christians of, the Saxon world, and then the Danish gods like Thor and Odin and stuff. Yeah. And there was one scene that I remember where like the king was saying something about how he just won't adopt God, and he won't listen to God or whatever. And he replied with something about, I'm out. Oh, he was asking why he didn't go to church. He's like, you won't go to church. Just go to church.
Like, you killed everyone, bro. Normal response.
Problem number one, yeah. But his response was something about how much time he spends among the trees and the grass and the sky. And he's like, I don't believe in your God, but if you really believe in your God, wouldn't it make more sense to connect with him here than in like a stone-walled church? No. And it was like, that's kind of more the not to, say my spiritual philosophy is based on a, TV show that I watched last week. But it was like a good answer to me to the question, because I do think that I engage in spirituality, like spiritual modalities, better by doing stuff like that, like meditation, spending time outside in nature, breath work, reconnecting with me, who I am, the people that I love the most, like feeling those feelings of love, of kindness, of the things that I would imagine a higher power or energy to have that would unite us all. So that's kind of more for me, doing yoga, things like that, just things that allow me to like reconnect with being present. Almost like a little bit more toward Buddhism, kind of, but not fully.
Yeah.
But that's kind of more how I think about it now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big advocate for going outside. I'm not joking.
Is this, this looked like there was something, something that you really wanted to say.
No, I was going to say, like, truly, like, going outside and, like, reconnecting, like, it sounds like super woo-woo, but, like...
Yeah, but the reason that it sounds woo-woo to us is because that's
right.
how we grew up.
But, like, honestly, woo-woo. Like, if you get off a really shitty call... Yeah, right.
Psychologists are woo-woo.
But if you get off, like, a really shitty call or you are having things go wrong, like, if you go outside and walk around and, like even without your AirPods and like literally just listen to the air, look at the trees, like it's a little woo, but it really is, like, it honestly is like the best like mental health advice I can give to people is like, try that first. Yeah. Like, try literally not being in fluorescent lighting and going outside and just like breathing and like taking in the world. And you realize too, like you're walking around like a park by your house and you're like, the world is so big and like my problems are so small in comparison to all of this. So
gives you a fresh perspective.
I'm a big advocate for going outside. That wasn't a joke. Now I feel like I need a good joke for that.